mentioned this when it came out in October, an article on Medium. It was a translation from a Dutch journal called De Correspondent that talks about public Wi-Fi. And I love the headline. Maybe better if you don't read this story on public Wi-Fi. It was a step-by-step discussion of what happened when a hacker with a small black box, they didn't identify the black box, probably something like the pineapple that Darren Kitchen sells, was able to go in to a coffee shop and hack everybody in there, learn things about them, about their searches. It was really kind of scary, and it kind of was a wake-up call for me, because for a long time I've said, you know, you can use open Wi-Fi access spots. Just, you know, make sure your email is encrypted.
Things down.
Yeah. You don't need to use a VPN. Just remember, people can see what you're doing. But it really scared me. So, and I knew that we were about to leave for a week on a cruise ship. The whole week I would be using public Wi-Fi.
Oh.
So I got a little nervous.
Did you take a clean machine, or did you just...
No, you know what? It didn't come in time, so I just lived on the edge dangerously. But I do want to show you, because it came when I got back, this. This is called the Tiny Hardware Firewall VPN client at tinyhardwarefirewall.com. We'd mentioned this before the show. In fact, I've had one for years. I couldn't find it, so I ordered the newest one, which is this little device. And I'd like to give you a review of this, because I have had it for a while now, and I've played with it. This is kind of interesting. The hardware is free with a 1-year subscription to Hotspot VPN, which is one of the longtime VPN providers. They're a company out of Washington, D.C. called Wi-Fi Consulting. Very trustworthy company. And I like their model. For 91 bucks plus shipping and handling, I get a year's worth of VPN plus the hardware. This is my Go kit that I take with me when I'm going to leave. I have to keep this in my briefcase. I take with me, this is it, the Tiny Hardware Firewall. Now, let me explain a little bit about what's going on here. This is, the white thing is the Tiny Hardware Firewall. I have it connected just to one of those little pocket battery systems, which is enough to keep it powered. But you could also connect it to the USB port on your laptop if you wanted to power it that way. One of the reasons, I'll explain why I keep it powered on a battery. I want to be able to use this with more than one device, and you can. This is really clever. You see it has two Ethernet ports, WAN and LAN. It has a USB port on it, and it has a micro USB power connector. That's how it gets power. There's no storage, no non-volatile storage, no battery in here. It's just a very simple, probably Marvell-based unit. But what it will do is not only provide you instantaneous access to a VPN, it also has Tor built in.
Nice.
And let me show you how easy this is to get working. This will take a wired input. If you're in a hotel, you put the Ethernet in here and wired out to your laptop, or Wi-Fi out to your laptop.
Right.
It will take public Wi-Fi in, and that's how I'm using it in this situation, with Wi-Fi out up to 4 devices. So my intent was to hook up to the cruise Wi-Fi and then have the family connect to this, including me, connect to this with their phones, their tablets. And that's important because nowadays our tablets and our phones probably don't have Ethernet access, right? But on a laptop, you could use this Ethernet to Ethernet. That would be the most secure. Let me show you how I've got it working. So the first thing you're going to do is, this is a Wi-Fi access point in and of itself. So I'm going to join the Wi-Fi access point. When you first configure it, which is kind of fun, it chooses a random set of characters beginning with the letter A, so it'll show up high in your Wi-Fi settings. I'm not sure why this laptop sometimes takes a while to see the Wi-Fi.
Microsoft.
So it randomly chooses a name. As you can see there, it's AZGSKK, and a randomly generated password. And that makes it easy to find it because it's going to come on top. So let's connect to it. That's the first thing you do. VPN is not yet working. By the way, there's no software you need on your devices.
It just struck me as something that's very simple to use, that you could actually give to someone, to a non-technical user, and they'd know what's going on.
So you tell them, this is what you would tell them. Okay, you're going to join this. This is the Wi-Fi password. By the way, once you enter that Wi-Fi password on any device, you don't have to enter it again. So you see, I'm just going to join it. As soon as I'm on that Wi-Fi access point, I'm going to surf to a little miniature, there we are, connected, a little miniature web browser that's built into the Tiny Hardware Firewall. and this allows me to configure it. Now you'll need to do this. I'm sorry, it's so small. Let me see if I can make it just a little bit bigger. I'm going to, first thing you're going to need to do is configure the wireless, because you are somewhere in a cafe or whatever. It doesn't know the wireless. And I'll just join one of our Wi-Fi access points here in the studio. Let me type in the password here. So here's the deal. You can configure the VPN. I'll show you real briefly. This is kind of standard. Here's an interesting thing. You can also go through a proxy. Now, traditionally, you'd go through none, but you can use a malware blocker proxy or a malware and ad blocker proxy.
That could be very handy.
And it works very well. It still looks like an ad blocker to the sites you're visiting, so you'll still get those nasty warning notices. I know,
yeah,
I know. But now watch, I'm going to save this. And this is where you could choose servers, although you don't have, as far as I can tell, access to every VPN server company. You have access to hotspot VPN servers, which are all in the US. So I'm going to save and connect to VPN. Again, everything here takes a little bit more time than you're used to with a big, powerful PC, because it's just a little
rather be a little slower or much more secure?
Right. And once you've set this up, it just runs kind of flawlessly. There we go. So now we are connected to the VPN. We're connected via the proxy to our TWiT Wi-Fi access spot. So just to show you, if I go to Google, that it's fairly swift. That's Google launching, and we're going through a VPN. In fact, I can ask Google, what is my IP? And it is not, in fact, our TWiT IP address, but an IP address of Hotspot VPN's VPN. So I know that, in fact, I'm going through a VPN.
That you're covered and...
Yeah, and even better, watch this. I can now, and I should probably do a little speed test here. Why don't we? We'll go to dslreports.com and just show you, because a lot of times people don't like to use VPNs because of the overhead. Speed test will complain briefly that I'm running through a proxy. We'll just...
get over it.
Yeah. Get over it, mate. And just quickly...
Jeez, man, your accent's really cool. It never works.
This is the biggest hit is latency, but this isn't bad. 130 to 142 milliseconds latency. It's not the end of the world.
You can try gaming on it.
And remember, we're doing this through a VPN. This is actually fairly good speed. Of course, we have 150 megabit symmetric connection that we're connected to on this Wi-Fi. But believe me, 3.71 down with 40 milliseconds of latency, and almost a little more than a megabit up is plenty.
Oh, yeah.
Plenty. And in fact, if you're on a open Wi-Fi access spot, it's probably what they've got.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's probably what they got. So you can see
that out at high rate.
It's a fairly good, fairly responsive VPN, which I think is a good point. And then finally, I can now connect to Tor, and that makes it very interesting, because Tor is incompatible with other proxies. That means it's going to turn off my ad blocker and my malware blocker, because Tor is the proxy.
Yeah.
But that's fine. And we're going to connect to the Tor. Again, this will take a minute. 93. That's a Tor exit node.
Yeah.
So great. So on the pros, it's fairly affordable, $91, and you get a year of service. The hardware is free. It's really kind of sophisticated hardware that is very simple and light and easy to use. No battery in here. You can use the micro USB to attach it to your laptop or carry a battery along with you, and you get a lot of battery life. It's also very effective, and the speeds are good of Hotspot VPN. So a real pro here is that it actually works, and it gets the job done and makes you more secure. Cons, a little finicky to set up, as you saw, and the first time you will have to have a wired Ethernet connection. I hooked it up to my iMac, was able to get it set up. Once you've got it configured, it's a lot easier to use. Also negative, you cannot choose which VPN server you're going to use. So you cannot use the tiny hardware firewall to bypass geographic restrictions. It's really solely for security. A big pro, of course, is the availability of the Tor network. That's unusual on devices like this, and that's a new feature. So VPN plus Tor, $91 a year. And you know, if you're geeky enough to figure out how to set it up, I think this is a great choice.
It's not much money to spend for a certain amount of security.
I absolutely have to say it is a must buy, a definite buy, tinyhardwarefirewall.com. And frankly, I'm not going on an open access point again without bringing this along. It's small enough I can keep it in my little bag. Yeah, go to DEF CON.
I was going to say I'm going to DEF CON this year.
Are you? You want to borrow this?
I may well nick that off you, in fact.
You need one of these.